Imagine you're the owner of a small software development firm and you want to scale your business up. However, a small team size, the unpredictability of demand, and limited resources are roadblocks for this expansion. That's when you hear about cloud computing. But before investing money into it, you decide to draw up the differences between on-premise and cloud-based computing to make a better decision. When it comes to scalability, you pay more for an on-premise setup and get lesser options too. Once you've scaled up, it is difficult to scale down and often leads to heavy losses in terms of infrastructure and maintenance costs. Cloud computing, on the other hand, allows you to pay only for how much you use, with much easier and faster provisions for scaling up or down. Next, let's talk about server storage. On-premise systems need a lot of space for their servers, notwithstanding the power and maintenance hassles that come with them. On the other hand, cloud computing solutions are offered by cloud service providers who manage and maintain the servers, saving you both money and space. Then we have data security. On-premise systems offer less data security, thanks to a complicated combination of physical and traditional IT security measures, whereas cloud computing systems offer much better security and lets you avoid having to constantly monitor and manage security protocols. In the event that a data loss does occur, the chance for data recovery with on-premise setups are very small. In contrast, cloud computing systems have robust disaster recovery measures in place to ensure faster and easier data recovery. Finally, we have maintenance. On-premises systems also require additional teams for hardware and software maintenance, loading up the costs by a considerable degree. Cloud computing systems, on the other hand, are maintained by the cloud service providers, reducing your costs and resource allocation substantially. So now, thinking that cloud computing is a better option, you decide to take a closer look at what exactly cloud computing is. Cloud computing refers to the delivery of on-demand computing services over the internet on a pay-as-you-go basis. In simpler words, rather than managing files and services on a local storage device, you'll be doing the same over the internet in a cost-efficient manner. Cloud computing has two types of models: deployment model and service model. There are three types of deployment models: public, private, and hybrid cloud. Imagine you're traveling to work. You've got three options to choose from. 1. You have buses, which represent public clouds. In this case, the cloud infrastructure is available to the public over the internet. These are owned by cloud service providers. 2. Then you have the option of using your own car. This represents the private cloud. With the private cloud, the cloud infrastructure is exclusively operated by a single organization. This can be managed by the organization or a third party. And finally, you have the option to hail a cab. This represents the hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud is a combination of the functionalities of both public and private clouds. Next, let's have a look at the service models. There are three major service models available: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Compared to on-premise models, where you'll need to manage and maintain every component, including applications, data, virtualization, and middleware, cloud computing service models are hassle-free. IaaS refers to infrastructure as a service. It is a cloud service model where users get access to basic computing infrastructure. They are commonly used by IT administrators. If your organization requires resources like storage or virtual machines, IaaS is the model for you. You'll only have to manage the data, runtime, middleware, applications, and the OS, while the rest is handled by the cloud providers. Next, we have PaaS. PaaS, or Platform as a Service, provides cloud platforms and runtime environments for developing, testing, and managing applications. This service model enables users to deploy applications without the need to acquire, manage, and maintain the related architecture. If your organization is in need of a platform for creating software applications, PaaS is the model for you. PaaS only requires you to handle the applications and the data. The rest of the components like runtime, middleware, operating systems, servers, storage, and others are handled by the cloud service providers. And finally, we have SaaS. SaaS, or Software as a Service, involves cloud services for hosting and managing your software applications. Software and hardware requirements are satisfied by the vendors, so you don't have to manage any of those aspects of the solution. If you'd rather not worry about the hassles of owning any IT equipment, the SaaS model would be the one to go with. With SaaS, the cloud service provider handles all components of the solution required by the organization. Time for a quiz now. In which of the following deployment models are you, as the business, responsible for the application, data, and operating system? 1. IaaS. 2. PaaS. 3. SaaS. 4. IaaS and PaaS. Let us know your answer in the comment section below. Coming back to cloud computing, some of the most popular cloud computing services in the market are AWS or Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. Want to learn more about them and how they differ from each other? Click on the top right corner for an analysis of how these service platforms are different from each other. We hope you found this informative and helpful. Right from the start, software development comprised two different departments. The development team that develops the plan, designs, and builds the system from scratch, and the operation team for testing and implementation of whatever is developed. The operations team gave the development team feedback on any bugs that needed fixing and any rework required. Invariably, the development team would be idle awaiting feedback from the operations team. This undoubtedly extended timelines and delayed the entire software development cycle. There would be instances where the development team moves on to the next project, while the operations team continues to provide feedback for the previous code. This meant weeks or even months for the project to be closed and final code to be developed. Now, what if the two departments came together and worked in collaboration with each other? What if the wall of confusion was broken? And this is called the DevOps approach. The DevOps symbol resembles an infinity sign, suggesting that it is a continuous process of improving efficiency and constant activity. The DevOps approach makes companies adapt faster to updates and development changes. The teams can now deliver quickly, and the deployments are more consistent and smooth. Though there may be communication challenges, DevOps manages a streamlined flow between the teams and makes the software development process successful. The DevOps culture is implemented in several phases with the help of several tools. Let's have a look at these phases. The first phase is the planning phase, where the development team puts down a plan, keeping in mind the application objectives that are to be delivered to the customer. Once the plan is made, the coding begins. The development team works on the same code, and different versions of the code are stored into a repository with the help of tools like Git and merged when required. This process is called version control. The code is then made executable with tools like Maven and Gradle in the build stage. After the code is successfully built, it is then tested for any bugs or errors. The most popular tool for automation testing is Selenium. Once the code has passed several manual and automated tests, we can say that it is ready for deployment and is sent to the operations team. The operations team now deploys the code to the working environment. The most prominent tools used to automate these phases are Ansible, Docker, and Kubernetes. After the deployment, the product is continuously monitored, and Nagios is one of the top tools used to automate this phase. The feedback received after this phase is sent back to the planning phase, and this is what forms the core of the DevOps lifecycle, that is, the integration phase. Jenkins is the tool that sends the code for building and testing. If the code passes the test, it is sent for deployment, and this is referred to as continuous integration. There are many tech giants and organizations that have opted for the DevOps approach. For example, Amazon, Netflix, Walmart, Facebook, and Adobe. Netflix introduced its online streaming service in 2007. In 2014, it was estimated that a downtime for about an hour would cost Netflix $200,000. However, now Netflix can cope with such issues. They opted for DevOps in the most fantastic way. Netflix developed a tool called the Simian Army that continuously created bugs in the environment without affecting the users. This chaos motivated the developers to build a system that does not fall apart when any such thing happens. So, on this note, here is a quiz for you. Match the DevOps tool with the phase it is used in. A. B. C. D. None of the above. Today, more and more companies lean towards automation. with the aim of reducing its delivery time and the gap between its development and operations teams. To attain all of these, there's just one gateway: DevOps. You enjoyed this video? If you did, a thumbs up would be really appreciated. Here's your reminder to subscribe to our channel and to click on the bell icon for more on the latest technologies and trends. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more from Simplilearn.